we're reaching a point to outprice the fans?
Well, we're not close. I mean, we keep breaking the records.
UFC ticket prices are insane. They continue to raise the cost to the point that the average fan can no longer afford it. But I'm an addict.
I'm here today because I'm addicted.
I used to suck dick for coke.
Despite the enormous costs, I've traveled to more than half of the pay-per-view events this year. So, was it worth all that money? Is the UFC really that much better in person compared to on TV? If you've ever thought about going to a UFC event but the cost has you feeling like you just ate a mountain of week-old grocery store sushi, I'm here to help. I'm here to give you the truth.
So help me God.
I'm going to tell you how to make sure you get the most value, and at the end of this video, what bullshit scams to avoid.
Man, this is some bullshit!
But first off, a public service announcement, a PSA. If you're the kind of person who's gonna start booing every time there's a grappling exchange, don't bother wasting your money. This sport and this video clearly are not for you. Do yourself and everyone a favor and stay home, go watch boxing, because newsflash, there will be grappling at an MMA event. It drives me fucking bananas every time I hear it. Go choose a different sport. Okay, now that I've gotten that off my chest, let me start with which events I've been to this year. I was at UFC 314 in Miami. I was at UFC 315 in Montreal. I was at UFC 316 in New Jersey. Public service announcement number 2, don't go to fucking Jersey. It's a shithole. I was at UFC 317 in Las Vegas for International Fight Week. I was in Vegas again for UFC 320. And I was at Madison Square Garden for UFC 322. I intentionally sat in different sections of the arena each time so that I could try to decide which one was going to give me the best fan experience, and based on the cost of the tickets, which one was actually fucking worth it. I've sat in the 300 level in the nosebleeds. I've sat in the lower bowl, kind of at the ends, like the end zone. I've sat in the bougie ass seats directly in the middle, 5-10 rows up. Like I said in the intro, I'm going to save and give my recommendations at the end of this video. But first, I wanted to share some of the main takeaways of actually being in this stadium live, ways that it was different from watching on TV. First off is the sound. UFC production crew installs 2 giant subwoofer arrays on either end of the arena. So we're talking like 100,000 watts of bass pumping into your eardrums, which basically means 2 things. One, the entrance songs and the walkouts are 100% more impressive live in person than on TV, especially without, Daniel Cormier yapping and verbally regurgitating all over them. And 2, similar to WWE, they install microphones underneath the octagon. So whenever you get a takedown, whenever you see people hit the mats, you're met with this massive boom, which really adds to the intensity of the grappling, which, I mean, honestly, they probably do to appease all those grappling haters who stopped watching this video about 2 minutes ago. And speaking of the announcers, not having the audio from the panel talking all throughout the fight actually makes the action itself like so much more palpable. You really get to focus in on what you're witnessing. It kind of feels, I don't know, more intimate in a way. I guess it's kind of like the difference between fucking someone one-on-one and being in an orgy. Huh? From personal experience, I can tell you, it's kind of a lot to pay attention to. Also, just like an orgy, if you were to turn the volume way down off completely, you'd have to read the room based on body language. That's what it's like being at the fight. You don't have John Anik in your ear giving you a play-by-play, which would be fucking weird in an orgy.
Custody battles involving their children.
Not having the commentary completely changes the way that you see the fight. I remember live in Montreal, Jose Aldo, Amin Zahabi. I thought for sure Aldo won that fight. As a matter of fact, there was a moment where he sort of looked up at the clock and then, got cracked. And I was like, holy shit, did he just intentionally throw that fight? It felt super weird. I watched it back at home and saw why Amin won the fight, although still slightly controversial, which actually kind of makes me really wonder about the judges. I mean, they're sitting live ringside. What type of info are they given? Do they get those bullshit fight stats that show up on the screen? Do they have access to instant replay? Not going to get into the whole gambling thing here because teaser, I'm going to do a video of that at some point. But let's just say that watching the fights live and in person is an entirely different experience than watching it on TV. Now I'm going to get into the advice portion of this video. So Number one, when you're looking at tickets, one of the things you're going to see is the UFC VIP Experience. They're going to be similarly priced to kind of sitting in those middle sections. So call it the, premium seats, premium pricing if you want to drop a bunch of cash. I've done it once. I did it in Miami. One of the really cool things is the day before the fight, so after the press conference, you get like this little lounge access. It's, all you can drink. They serve food and stuff, and they'll do photo ops with a bunch of fighters. They have maybe a dozen different fighters show up. But the really cool part of it is that the day of the fights, you get access to that same lounge area. So it's all you can drink, all you can eat. They serve food the entire time. And they had like a few dozen fighters just walking around, hanging out, chilling, signing stuff. They do the whole photo op thing too if you want to stand in line. But you're literally just sitting around for the prelims and the early prelims, waiting for the main card. In the special section, you can go in the arena if you want. And you're just, hanging out, talking to fighters, getting firsthand experience with them. In my opinion, that's more worth it than sitting dead center, middle, ideal seats, because the VIP experience, you're going to get those sort of end zone, end of the arena seats. I'll get into the views and the sight lines and all that stuff and how it compares. But if you're going to drop like the serious cash, you probably want to do the VIP experience. Another piece of advice that I would give to anyone who's thinking about going to a UFC event for the first time, don't come just for one day. Don't just come in on Saturday on fight night. Come in the day before. Make sure you can stick around a little bit on the day after, because one thing is the press conference is free every Friday, the day before the fights. Now, if you're a bettor like I am, I actually got some exceptionally good insider experience that helped me win one of my bets in UFC 314 in Miami. I saw Darren Elkins live and in person at the press conference come up on the ceremonial weigh-in, and that man looked like he was about to die. I put all my money on the other side, cashed that one in, so you can really get a good body language feel for what kind of state the fighters are in, how they express themselves, how much energy they have. And it's free. It's free. If it's something that you've never done, you might as well get there a day early. It's worth the experience. The other thing is you might have a little bit hard time finding this info online, but it's worth the effort. Look up where the fighter hotels are. Look up where the fighters are staying. I happen to stay in the same hotel as Joshua Van, and we took the same elevator together and got to chit chat with him. Forget about paying for the UFC VIP experience. With a little bit of interneting, a little bit of research and investigation, you can stay in the same place that the fighters are, which leads me perfectly into my next point. This isn't the NFL or the NBA or the NHL. Dude, when the UFC comes to town, they come to town. They put up live appearances across different places at the city, people doing photo ops and stuff, fighters doing photo ops and stuff at bars or, partner events. And the fighters themselves, when the fights are over, after a long fight camp of eating properly and not going out and not partying and not drinking, these guys go out and they live their lives. I mean, you saw Merab Dvalishvili in Vegas dancing on stage for hours. You've seen Khalil Roundtree and Yuri Prohaska, doing shots together at the bar. If you're really lucky, you'll figure out where Carlos Prates is getting shit-faced that night. My point is, they're there in that city for the weekend, and these are fighters. These are everyday people. They go out. You have a chance to party with them. That is not something you're going to get in any other sport. I mean, with the only exception maybe being if you go to the strip club when James Harden is in town, but that's a different story for a different day. I'm just saying it's worth looking into that stuff before attending an event, because it's something that you can get extra for your money that doesn't really compare to any other sport. Okay, one of the questions that I see the most online and people ask me is when to buy your tickets if you're going to a UFC event. Now, the answer is it depends. So UFC 314, UFC 317, 322, big marquee events with top name fighters, stacked fight cards, like holy shit, this is going to be fucking amazing. Buy your tickets right away. Buy them as soon as possible. Get pre-sale Fight Club if you can. Get your tickets right away, because capitalism, algorithm, supply and demand, you're going to get rate prices if you try to wait. If the event is just meh, okay, it's all right. A Bilal Muhammad main card, for example. If you don't have really big marquee names on the main event, if the card isn't stacked, if you got a couple women's flyweight, number one contender fights or some scrappy ass heavyweight fights on the main card, don't buy your tickets right away. Wait. UFC 315 in Montreal, didn't even sell out. They were giving tickets away on Saturday morning to different MMA clubs and different gyms and organizations. I knew people personally that worked at the Bell Center that were aware the whole time. They're like, yeah, no, they're really not selling. It happens just because it's the UFC. If they don't deliver, if they don't put like top of the top on the fight cards, yeah, the tickets might show up at $1,200, $1,500, you know, $400, $500 for the nosebleeds. But that doesn't mean they're always going to be like that. Now, do you want to go to a mid card? Depends on the price, right? It actually works on supply and demand. There are certain events that do not sell out. So if it's a mediocre mid event, do not buy your tickets right away. You will be displeased. Perth, Western Australia was another example of that. You can wait. One thing that people aren't going to tell you is that almost regardless of where you're sitting in the arena, if they're striking, you probably have a decent view of it. But when they're grappling, you are almost always going to be looking at the screen, which is why it's important to be sitting in a section where you have a good view of the screen, because let's be honest, that's, 20, 30% of a UFC event is going to be some form of grappling. Okay, this is the part of the video where I'm going to give you the most valuable information. This is shit that you cannot find anywhere else online. I swear to God. Number one is the best sections to sit in, and even more importantly, which scams to avoid, which seats that you should never buy almost no matter what, because they are shit and they will ruin your day. The number one thing that you want to never, ever, ever do is buy fucking floor seats. It's a waste of money. The octagon is raised up. You have cameramen and people all around the outside obstructing your view constantly. If you want to look up at the Jumbotron and look at the screen so that you can see, you have to crank your neck like this. It's a shit place to sit. I don't know why anybody does it. They sell it out every single time. I've done it before. I've had friends that have done it before. It's never a great viewing experience. If they hit the mat, you literally can't see anything and you have to watch the screen. Don't ever sit on the floor seats. It's not worth the cost. Now, there's another section that is also not worth the cost. And when you sit on the arena map and you start looking at things, you start to maybe think like, okay, look how much cheaper these are than here. The part that nobody tells you is that the UFC installs this metal piping, this rigging around the top of the octagon where they put the lights, where they have the cameras, all of the effects and stuff that they do within the production. That's the scaffolding that they use to install all of their equipment. What that does is if you sit in these little side sections off, you can't see the fucking screen because the goddamn rigging comes right in front of it. So yeah, you have an okay view of the action live when you're staring at the octagon and they're striking, but when they hit the mat, you're not going to be able to really see anything or tell what's going on by staring straight at them. So you're going to want to look up at the screen and you're not going to be able to see it. It's going to be cut in half or the corner is going to be cut out, which then means you have to look all the way up in the butt fuck corner of the arena on the tiny ass little screens. These seats will be a little bit less expensive than the dead center ones. Don't do it. Don't buy them. It's a waste of your money. Either spend your money and sit directly in the center where you have a great view, or sit in a different section altogether, either at the ends, which will be cheaper, or up at the top. Do not sit in those seats no matter what. It is a waste of money. I promise you. I've done it multiple times. All right, that's it. Those were my tips and tricks. But what I really want to know from you guys is, have you been to a UFC event before? If so, what year was it and how much did you pay? And do you prefer it live or on TV? That's it. Thank you for watching.